Are you ready to learn the difference between hiring and managing a virtual assistant versus hiring and managing a freelancer? In this video, I'm going to walk you guys through the main differences between the two roles, especially if you're right now a business owner or entrepreneur and you're trying to decide which one to hire or work with. Now, this is coming from someone who has a virtual assistant agency, and this is something that I actually will tell potential clients right off if they need a virtual assistant or if they need a freelancer. Now, to simply define, a virtual assistant is someone that you have in your business as kind of your right-hand person, as someone who's supporting you through different fields, versus a freelancer is someone who might be just there in your business, but you're not really thinking of them maybe long-term. They're just project-based or whatever that looks like for you. So, of course, the first difference between a virtual assistant and a freelancer is a virtual assistant is a little bit more of a jack or Jill of all trades. Now, what I mean by this is when you have a virtual assistant versus you have a freelancer or even an employee in your business, a virtual assistant kind of follows where you're at, and they kind of learn the skills to help kind of manage and work with you on it. So as a really good example from my own assistant, Honey, for a lot of the things that I focus on, depending on where I'm at, she starts picking up and learning those skills. So if I'm working on, let's say a few months ago, we upgraded our 𝐇𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐧𝐠 website. I refurbished my own website as well. I was working on a lot of branding, a lot of media basically. She then also learned how to use WordPress, how to even work with our developer, but she still needed to or wanted to also learn things behind the scenes so she understands it a little bit better. So that's kind of the good power of having a virtual assistant, is you don't need someone who's just focused on this one thing, versus for a freelancer, they're a little bit more of a specialist. They might just be focusing on one part of your business versus, like, again, kind of a little bit of a virtual assistant where they're a little bit in different parts of your business. So as a really good example, we do have, like I said, a website developer for our websites in 𝐸𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐧𝐠 and for my own as well, but my assistant works with them. So for our website developer, she's amazing at what she does. She figures things out when I am stuck or when Honey is stuck on, let's say, a plugin that we wanted to add, or we want to make sure that it is ranked on Google. She helps figure that stuff out because she is the specialist. She's the person basically who goes in and makes sure that all of our ducks are aligned before we hit go, before we launch the website. So that is essentially the first kind of difference that you can start thinking about of, like, hey, do I need a freelancer? Do I need an executive assistant or a virtual assistant? It's basically what range of responsibilities or specialties do you need a person to have in your business. Now, I do want to give this caveat, and I usually do, where you should never think of your virtual assistant as a unicorn where they're doing every single thing in your business. You're supposed to be having your assistant take care of some of it, systematize, give it to someone else, hire the actual employee or freelancer who's a specialist of that, because there's no such thing as a unicorn virtual assistant. They're supposed to be focusing on where you're focusing on so they can support that with you. Next is, with a virtual assistant, you can have someone who is either full-time or part-time, although to be honest, I do recommend having someone full-time because they're not thinking of other clients. They're not thinking of, hey, this is my next project or this is the next thing that I want to work on, because they're only working with you. They're starting to get ideas in the shower of how to improve certain things, of something they may have read on a book or watched on a YouTube channel. They're able to bring that forth to you. Versus a freelancer, they may be project-based. They might be working with 2, 3, 4 other clients. I know a lot of really amazing freelancers who basically have different laptops for different clients that they're working on, so they don't get messed up on who it is that they're working with, or maybe even different profiles on their laptop, so they're switching between those two as they're switching from one job to the other. So that is just the main thing, is depending on where your business is at, do you need someone who's more of a freelancer to finish off a project or a certain cycle in your business, versus having someone who's more full-time, more dedicated, and working with you. Next difference, of course, is then your virtual assistant becomes your ongoing support. So anything that in your business is recurring, anything that needs to get done weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever it looks like, your assistant will be better to handle those things as they come up, versus for a freelancer, it might just be project-based support. Basically, depending on what it is that they worked on, that'll be the only thing that they'll support you on. So again, going back to the web developer example, for my web dev, I don't see her as someone who's going to help me a lot on my content, updating all of that. She basically created the website, and any bugs or any other changes that I would need to get done on that, I know she's the person I go to. But anything that's specific to me, anything else like, hey, what if we add this to the site? What if I did this? I would trust my assistant to then work with our web developer to be able to make those changes. So there's a little bit of that like, hey, I know what my virtual assistant can do. I know what our web dev can do. They can basically work together because my assistant has learned who I am and what my preferences are, and be able to pass it on to the web dev. Which is the biggest difference between having a virtual assistant or a freelancer. Is essentially a virtual assistant can become your second brain. And this is something that I love talking about, is how to get to your assistant to the point where they can think like you, make decisions like you, just like with my own assistant. We've developed it. It wasn't an instant thing, but within, I believe, about 6 months to 8 months, my assistant was already writing on Instagram as if she were me. She was already commenting on things, engaging on things as if she were me. And that's kind of the power of having a virtual assistant who works closely with you versus a freelancer where they will have the special skills effect. And what I mean by this is you have an assistant who is your second brain, and you have a freelancer who has a special set of skills to be able to figure things out that your assistant might not have the capacity to, just because they're working on other things with you. So that's kind of the other flip side of it. Like I said, depending on where your business is at, what outcomes do you need, what are the things that you want to delegate, what are the things you want to give to an assistant versus a freelancer. Those are the main differences between the two. Now in the comments, do let me know if you have any other questions on the differences between a freelancer or a virtual assistant. That's kind of the major ones, and there's a lot of little nuances that I can go into, but it depends again on the kind of business that you have. I would love to help you out. And of course, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there, and if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.